and welcome to One Question Interview. Today we have Yet to Bloom, a pop punk band based in Boston, Berkeley. And you guys come from a lot of places around the world, and you've got awesome tunes that are on Spotify and other streaming.
I gotta live for the feeling, love being needed. Give me a reason to write your ending. What you want, I'll be it. Capture it, freeze it. Keep all your secrets till frostbite's on my.
And you play live shows. And I want to know, how does the process of like writing songs happen for you guys as a band? Like, in terms of lyrics and music and everything, how does it all come together, and how do you work as a group to like make a song happen?
Okay, so most of our songs usually comes from like a guitar riff as a bass. So usually I'll just be like playing around in my room, just on my guitar, come up with a riff and be like, hey guys, here's a riff, do something with it. And then we just go in the practice room, start writing. Usually it takes a long time. And we just mess with the structure and a bit. And we usually create like a demo of it, and then we forget about it for like 3 months, and then we get back into it.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's sort of like, I was watching this video about how songs are written by a lot of my favorite songwriters, and they talk about what the process is like, and it's a lot of just, you make a song and then you're like, this is fire, and then something else distracts you, and then you forget about how good the song is, and then whenever you come back to it, like, you're even more excited about it. And that's sort of what we've been doing as of right now. The song that we're currently working on has gone through like a lot of different structures and a lot of different forms. It's both a blessing and a curse to be a Berklee student, because you're so aware of what music can be. So back whenever I was writing back at home, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna write it like this because I don't know any other way. But now that there's so many different ways that like I know how to write, it's a whole different sort of process. But yeah, I'll talk a little bit about lyrics before Justin gets into the next part. But for our last record, Ashes Ashes, a lot of what I was writing about was like the difficulties of growing up and how bittersweet that can be, and sort of how growing to be a better person can be really painful, and not a lot of people talk about that. And yeah, that was what the last record was about. The next record is still being written, so I can't say for certain yet, but yeah.
Yeah, that's funny because I don't even know the lyrics to this song.
Justin knows them. Like,
I know
Justin
a
can like,
majority of
Oh, you're backing
Yeah.
vocals, so that makes
well,
sense.
but
Yeah.
that doesn't even...
but
I know,
even
like-
before Justin started doing backing vocals, he would sing the lyrics back to me. I'd be like, okay.
But, I mean, for writing, I guess Ray did kind of sum it up where it's like, he comes up with a riff, or also Claire can come up with an idea or one of her songs that she wrote for a project or something, and that eventually just starts, as we work on it, it just starts evolving into something more like of a Yet to Bloom project, right? And from then on, like, we go into practice rooms, we have a lot of discussions about it, and sure, it can take a lot of time, but for some reason, most of the songs that we have put out have taken less than like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
All of them, all the ones that we have put out took not much time to write, and
Yeah.
it's a very good feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever a song is like, whenever a song is really good, it doesn't usually take. Once like you get into the groove of it, it finishes up pretty nicely. But it's just getting to that point it can take anywhere from like a couple days to a couple months.
Yeah,
definitely.
there's like the best song ideas we have, we finish them in like 2-3 weeks max. The ones we forget about, like we write it for too long, and then we just like we just stop it forever.
Yeah.
I know you and Billy like a few of the ideas that we've written in the past, but I really don't like them.
Yeah, they would.
So it's like,
They would have to change a lot in order for us to sort of view
Yeah.
them to different. But that's sort of what songwriting is. Like, I have so many like old demos on my phone, and not every one of them is going to be something that's put out. So
Yeah. There's also like, by my end, because I usually write the guitar riffs first, I have a folder in my Photos app where it's just a bunch of riffs, and there's like, in like 20, there's maybe like 1 or 2 that might work,
Mm-hmm.
because we're a pop punk, pop rock band, but I also write a lot of stuff in other genres. So there's some like heavy shit that I write, which I'm just like, that would not work.
Yeah.
Like some fucking sugar stuff I would just write. I'm just like, that would not work.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
I just like handpick the ones which I sound really catchy first,
Mm-hmm.
and also
That's definitely like a
Yeah.
hallmark of our style, is like things being really catchy.
yeah,
Yeah.
There's
That's
a-
what we really
yeah.
enjoy.
the songwriting. Actually, why don't we talk about like who inspires us? to
Sure.
songwrite?
Do you want to go
Yeah.
first?
You can go first, and then I will go second.
Okay. This is funny because I just had a final exam about this. Basically, what I had to do was like take a Yet to Bloom song and like trace it back, like sort of find its musical, like, family tree, basically. And thinking about my own influences, it's hard to like be a female-fronted rock band and not be compared to Paramore.
Every time, bro. Every fucking time we finish a set, there's some good. Yo, you guys sound so good. Reminds me of Paramore. I'm just like, okay.
Yeah. So, and I mean, like, that's valid. Like, they're an amazing band, but also it's just like nobody really existed before them that had done what they do. So I'm definitely really inspired by them, but I also have like a lot of roots in listening to like songwriter music. Like, my dad was super into folk growing up. Like, it was folk music and like 90s music that I was primarily raised on, and I just love sort of those timeless, like, catchy songs that happened in like the mid to late 90s. Like, that was just such like a golden era. So I think about that a lot whenever I'm writing. Like, Dave Grohl is one of my like top. I just think that he's so good at knowing what the audience wants and just giving it to them.
I, as a guitarist, well, I grew up in Hong Kong, so we both relate to this. J-rock is really popular where we're from, and we definitely have a lot of influences. Whenever I write riffs, I definitely do discover a lot of my writing comes from J-rock. The balance between heavy catchiness and melodic elements is what really goes into my personal writing, and also comes out in the band's writing as well. And yeah, I just like to, when I write or do anything in my life, I like to have a balance of both. So it's like, in our writing, I like to have a balance of catchiness and also like heaviness to it.
Yeah.
So it like caters to a lot of audiences. So it's like even people who don't really like rock will like jam to our music. And there's also this guitarist called Mark Oakham. He's the guitarist of Periphery. I've been a fan of him for like way too long, and his style of writing riffs is primarily what I aspire to be, which is like it's complex, but it's also catchy. It's technical, but it's also catchy. So stuff like, he has this, I notice in his riffs there's a lot of continuity within his riffs. So from one part to the next part, there's always a lot of fills in the middle, but it doesn't seem to take up space in the song because it's just like catchy. So that's what I like to do.
That makes so much
Yeah,
sense
exactly.
now.
Yeah.
You talk about it, yeah.
A lot of his riffs are based on that, and I try to like copy that style of writing as well. Yeah, that's basically my style of writing.
I mean, for me, it's like, I don't have too much writing influence, but it's like, when I come up with an idea, it's coming from a person who listens to too much Japanese music for his own good. So, yeah, J-rock, J-pop, a lot of that kind of stuff has really influenced how I kind of think music should sound for me, if I were to put it out. So that's essentially most of my influence.
Justin, my favorite thing about Justin's drumming is that he's like, I don't know any way to put it other than you're like a very empathetic drummer. Like, you are really good at being able to catch on to what parts need to be highlighted, and then that's sort of what inspires you to sort of create grooves for songs. Like, I feel like you pull the best out of us whenever arranging parts.
I mean, that's a great compliment. Thank you.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've talked about influences. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we need to cover. I mean, we can talk about, we're recording a song right now.
Literally like 2 hours from now.
Nice,
recording a new
nice,
song.
yeah.
2 hours from now. Yeah, me and Ray just got together and did the guitars yesterday. drums and bass tonight. I'm really excited about it. I think it's like a structure that we haven't really written before, and I'm excited to sort of see what this lends us to.
It's one of, well, at least I'm sure you guys also really like it, but it's my favorite song that we've ever written.
You say that about every
yeah.
new one, though.
Okay, yeah, but yeah, so we're always better than what we've made. That's essentially what we are, and like, the new song is it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, I love the new song.
It's so fucking good.
I'm also very excited to say that this is our first time using other time signatures.
Ah,
Ooh,
yeah.
interesting, yeah.
Mm.
So, I mean, even if it may just be like 3/4,
Yeah.
it's going in a direction where it's very fun.
Yeah.
It becomes a lot more fun from then on, right?
I have one anecdote to sort of close out on that, section. So Billy has gotten sick quite a few times during this semester, so we've had to have my boyfriend Preston fill in, and whenever I first started teaching him the songs, he was like, oh, like these follow pretty similar structure, like I can do this. He learned them in less than like 24 hours.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And then whenever we started writing this new one and we played it, he was like, bro.
What the fuck?
And it's not that different, but it just goes to show like we're trying to think outside the box a little bit more and not to
Yeah.
be that girl,
Yeah.
but I don't think that would have been possible if we didn't go to school for this. So
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Looking- Looking on like songwriting and maybe like our next record, we don't have like a set structure for the next record yet, but we do have a few ideas lined up, and those ideas sound really good. It fleshed out into full ideas, and I think because we only have one record right now, but we have learned a lot since all the production, pre-production, recording, writing, and we could all learn from There's a lot of skills that we learned that we didn't have before. There's a lot of conflict resolving that we haven't had before. And coming into the next one, I think we're like a lot more mature
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
decision making and songwriting.
Yeah,
as well.
for sure. Like we finally have the vocabulary to be able to talk about these things rather than, nah, bro, that sounds ass. But then, but then, like you can't explain why.
But I say that. But I explain it though.
But like at least now I can kind of infer why, because like we sort of are on the same
Yeah.
level now. But Ray's gonna be in Hong Kong for the summer, but me, Justin, and Billy are gonna be here. So we're gonna have a unique challenge where
Yeah.
we're writing. The three of us are gonna be writing together, but Ray's gonna be writing remotely. And his parts are so integral to the band that it's gonna be interesting to see what comes from it.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to it. I think it's
Yeah.
gonna be
Oh,
cool.
definitely. It's gonna be
It's really
great.
interesting. You guys could just have me on Zoom while you guys are in a practice room.
Yeah, I'm just
But,
glad that like all of the rhythm section is here, because as long as that's tight, I feel like we can do basically
Yeah,
whatever we
for sure.
want.
Yeah. I think the entire creative process is just streamlined a lot more.
Mm.
We have like we're familiar with it now, and we are just getting through with it a lot faster than we usually did.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing for all the people watching, we're a band whose members have a lot of different viewpoints and different ways of approaching things. So you have to take care of how you approach someone else's viewpoint, and you have to learn to sacrifice some things so that it works in the long term. Like I want this band to work long term, right? There's a lot of bands in Berkeley. I'm not gonna name anyone, but
Yeah,
a lot of
right.
people have a lot of conflicts within their own band, and they just don't work out. So you just have to know how to mitigate that. And obviously, we grew up in different cultures. So different cultures, there's a culture clash as well. So we just have to mitigate that and move on from whatever conflicts we have. Yeah.
That's like very true, because a lot of the bands that we've played with here are all from the United States, but we have different sort of approaches as bands that have people from different parts of the world. So that's
Yeah.
I think that's been one of the greatest things to like help us too, is sort of having those different ideas floating around. So yeah,
Yeah.
Is that everything?
that's
That's probably
everything for
everything.
me.
Awesome.
everything.
Yeah. Once again, Yet to Bloom.